Welcome everyone to the MBA Elevate series. This is episode number 3. We're going to look at why and how to complete an internship today. We have our special guest here today, Katie Novakov, who is from our internship team in the UTS Business School. And we're going to be talking about internships in more detail, why you might want to do one, how you can go about it, what the advantages are, etc. So let's get right into it. Katie, did you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do in the business school.
Great, thanks so much, James. So hi everyone, I'm Katie Novakov. I'm the Internship and Career Support Coordinator here at the UTS Business School. So I support students through our undergraduate and postgraduate internship subjects. And I come from UTS Careers as well. So I've been at UTS for almost a decade now. So I've really seen the benefits of doing an internship has for students. And prior to working at UTS Careers, I actually worked in recruitment at a recruitment agency, as well as within an internal talent acquisition team. So I was involved in recruiting students for roles in that capacity as well. And when I did my undergraduate business degree many years ago, I also did an internship and I found it really beneficial with helping me on the career path that I took with my career.
Fantastic. Thanks, Katie. So one of the key questions that students ask me frequently, including our MBA students, is how can I find an internship? What's your advice?
Yeah, so that's a really common question that I also get. And when you're looking for an internship, I really encourage students to diversify the strategies that they use. So you can do what might be obvious, which is utilizing job boards. So you can use, larger job boards such as Seek or LinkedIn. But what I find with larger job boards is they're a great starting place, but you might not find roles at an internship level on there or specifically targeted towards students. There are definitely some, but UTS has a really great job board which is called Career Hub. And on Career Hub, we have a lot of industry as well as partners from UTS actually advertise opportunities that are specifically targeted towards UTS students. And we have many internship opportunities on there throughout the year as well. So I really encourage students to use Career Hub. And there's even a customized, really personalized Business Career Hub site that is great for business students to utilize. With job boards as well, there's other job boards that are specifically targeted towards university students, such as Grad Connection and Prospool. So these are also really great to use. Now, when you're looking for an internship, you might have some idea around the type of industry that you're working for, looking to work for, or potentially you might have maybe an employer of choice. So you can actually go ahead and have a look on these company websites, as many of them will have a careers page. And on that careers page, they'll have potentially current opportunities listed, or you might be able to do some research and find out how you can express interest for working at particular companies through using tools like LinkedIn. Maybe you can find a hiring manager and send them a direct message on LinkedIn, or someone from their early career team or their recruitment team to message as well. Something else that is really great to do when you're looking for an internship is actually to think about networking. So thinking about your current networks, who you might know in your network and who they might know as well. So leveraging your network is a really great thing to include within your job search strategies. Some students actually might be working at the moment, so they may be working in maybe an organization in a retail customer service type level role, or they might even have a junior position within a more corporate organization. You can have conversations within your current business to see if there's any opportunities to, do an internship, maybe get involved with a project, see if there's any learning opportunities there. And then also thinking about networking events, and UTS is really great. There's so many networking events that the student societies run. So I know recently there was a finance event, an accounting event. So it's always great to go along and meet the professionals that come to the events, but also your peers, so other students they could be working in industry and they might have insights into internship opportunities. So I can go on about strategies, but that's kind of a really good overview of how you might find an internship.
Yeah, it's fantastic advice, Katie. And as our MBA students know, we have a new club and society for MBA students called MBA Nexus, and they've already run a few events with industry partners who have come along and engaged with students. So that's just one example of where you can network and reach out to industry and make contact. So that's really, really fantastic advice there, Katie. One of the things I like about UTS Career Hub you mentioned as well is not only can you filter it in terms of business, we can also look at the different discipline areas that you're interested in and really break it down to find those opportunities that might be out there that are advertised through the UTS network.
Mhm.
So obviously, a lot of students, MBA students mentioned to me they're interested in doing internships. What are some examples of MBA students and the internships they've actually taken on?
Yeah, so we've had a range of organizations that MBA students have interned at. Some include startups, small to medium enterprises, and most recently we've had our first MBA get involved with Optic Consulting, which was a really great internship where this MBA student got to go along and collaborate with engineering and IT students within a project. So then it was an interdisciplinary project, which is what you're going to come across in working in the real world. And they got to work on a real life project for an organization and really work on this project in a collaborative way and gain that experience through that opportunity. So Optic Consulting is essentially a part of UTS where they will put students to collaborate on projects for external partners and industry. So that's a really great opportunity as well. And then generally speaking, we also partner with a wide range of different organisations from not-for-profits. I also encourage students to use the startup network that we have access to at UTS. So join the mailing list for the startups newsletter, so the UTS startups newsletter, and they often will be promoting internship opportunities through there. In the past, students have also interned at government or councils, as well as some other areas within UTS as well. So in the business internship team, we have a work integrated learning manager who actually speaks to industry almost on a daily basis and sources opportunities for business students, and then we will promote these on Career Hub.
Excellent, Katie. Yeah, the Optic consultancy opportunities are one of the fantastic ones that students can look into. That's offered periodically at this stage in the winter and summer session. So that summer session is coming up and there should be more information that we're going to post on the MBA Canvas page in terms of how to apply for that very, very soon after this video is posted. So obviously there's a lot of opportunities out there, Katie. What is the value of undertaking an internship, say as an MBA student?
Yeah. So I think the value of undertaking an internship, in particular, undertaking it within a subject, is to really gain that practical experience and to also almost prototype or trial a position that you might be interested in the future. So you really develop your understanding of what it might be like working at a particular organization within a particular industry or the particular job function itself. And then oftentimes with internships, organization or use this as a talent pool to actually hire graduates into their organization. So that's a really great, I guess, stepping stone to get into an organization, especially if you have maybe limited experience within that area. An internship is a really great stepping stone. And then within taking the internship as a subject, it's really great to be able to apply what you've learned within your MBA to a workplace situation.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of like a situation where, you can get to know the employer, and the employer can get to know you. It can work out if it's a good fit for a longer term engagement potentially. And also think about, is this the professional pathway you might want to pursue, or are there other options in your MBA that you might want to take up, if this is something that you identify potentially that's not so much of interest? Yeah. So it can certainly drive the specialization, the flexibility, in terms of what you can do through the MBA program through doing an internship if it's, say, at an earlier stage.
Yeah, and if a student does find that it's not the right fit for them for whatever reason, it's, I guess, a lower risk situation than if you were to, obtain a full-time, permanent, ongoing role and then figure that out later. So it's a really good way to kind of test as well.
Hmm. Yeah, across my many years of teaching, I've spoken to many students and graduates, and it's a very common story. You find that, people change pathways, they try something and they go, it's not for me, and I want to try something different. And so there's an advantage of an internship. You can get that early stage exposure, and then you can progress from there in terms of what you want to do with your studies and career more generally.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. So we obviously offer an internship subject for our postgraduate students, Katie. So how do students go about enrolling in that subject?
So to enroll in the subject, you first secure an internship. So we've touched on how you might go around securing that internship, either through Career Hub, Optic Consulting, or those other strategies we mentioned. When you're looking for an internship, it's good to have an understanding of what the criteria is that we have. So for MBA students, your internship has to be directly related to your studies. And within the internship, we do have the expectation that you have a supervisor and a mentor to support you throughout your time during the internship. With the work arrangement, so we will approve hybrid work arrangements. So that might be a mix of you going into the office or you might be working at home some days, but we really want you to get that experience in that workplace environment. So we don't approve fully remote internships, because we really want you to value going and getting that experience in that environment, as I mentioned. For the subject, we will approve 100 to 180 hours of the internship. So I'll chat about this in a little bit more detail later on, but internships can be paid or unpaid. If it's unpaid, it would have to fit within that 100 to 180 hours for it to be approved. If it's paid, potentially your internship might go for a little bit longer, but you would want to choose a period of 100 to 180 hours that you would contribute towards the subject. And then the next step is that we have a really great Career Hub workflow. If you haven't come across a Career Hub workflow before, essentially it's a step-by-step process where you will complete one step and then it will unlock the next step. So within this process, you'll have to be able to select the organization that you're interning with. So that organization will have to be registered on the UTS Career Hub site. And to register, they must complete a workplace health and safety form. Once they've registered, you would then submit a placement summary form, which is essentially an overview of your internship with all your details. You will be providing your workplace supervisor's email address, and then an email will be sent to them. They will log into their Career Hub account and then they will approve your internship, and then our team will step in and approve your internship as well. After your internship's fully approved, you'll then be able to enroll in the subject. So we'll waive the requisites and you can self-enroll in the subject.
Excellent. And I know you're going to talk a little bit more shortly, Katie, in terms of, why you should enroll in this subject and a number of factors around that. But I think one of the important things is that you do look at, what students are going to be doing with this internship. And there's a reputation in some parts of, the industry that interns don't do real work, and I guess the process of your team checking and looking at what's actually going on there is very important from the student's point of view in terms of making sure they're going to get a valuable and worthwhile internship that they can actually progress through, which is a very, very important thing to know as a student as you move forward.
And for MBA students, when our work integrated learning managers having those conversations with the industry, we really have a conversation around if you're going to hire a postgraduate student or an MBA student, they really need to be working on a project that they can, meaningfully get learning from and have, a supervisor that they can learn from as well. So we really emphasize that with the industry as well.
Which is fantastic because obviously, there's variation in terms of responsibilities in different positions. And, if you're studying an MBA, you're at a higher level than what would be the expectation in an undergraduate degree. So I think that's absolutely essential and very, very valuable. So what are some of the basic requirements for enrolling this subject, Katie?
So within your study plan, if you've chosen to do electives, then you have the option to enroll in the subject. Now, our subject is very much focused on you being able to apply your learning to that experience that you're having. So you have to complete at least a minimum of a session, so 4 subjects, to be able to enroll. We would have to look at your study plan, but potentially you might have to enroll in your second year of study, and then I think that you would get the most out of your internship if you're around that period, because you're really able to, have that knowledge that you've developed within your other subjects and then apply that to that work environment.
Excellent. Yeah. So getting back to the question, obviously we've talked about, the requirements and a little bit about what your team does, Katie, in terms of, looking at those internships that students are going to be doing. So what's some more reasons why a student should enroll in this internship subject?
Great. So within the subject, you'll be doing assessments, and that really helps you consolidate your learning. So with these assessments, they're really focused on career development learning. So you'll reflect on your professional development and you'll identify strategies for future improvement. We've got some really great modules that we've developed that you have access to really consolidate that career development learning. We also want you to be able to really identify those transferable skills that you've developed. So you've developed skills within your studies and now you've developed skills within this internship. How can you then articulate that to future employers, maybe in a future recruitment process, to be able to show that you've developed skills in this situation and you're able to carry them over to another situation. So things like your communication skills. And then we really want you to be able to, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, apply your prior learning to the experience that you've had. So you might find that what you've studied in your subjects really comes through in your internship, or by being, really fresh with doing the subjects, you might actually be able to reverse mentor and give some insights to your supervisor so they can learn from you as well. Then with the assessments, we really want them to be purposeful. So we want you to be able to become really well-rounded graduates, which is what employers often look for. So within the assessments, you'll be thinking about the importance of cultural awareness, ethical decision-making, and social responsibility. Now, another benefit from doing the subject is, as I mentioned, internships can be paid or they can be unpaid. So if the internship is paid, that's a direct relationship that you'll have with the organization for insurance purposes and so on. Now, if the internship is unpaid, you want to have an awareness of the Fair Work Act and what the definition is of a vocational placement. So for a vocational placement to be lawfully unpaid, it has to meet a specific criteria within Australia. So there must be a placement, there must be no entitlement to pay for the work that you're undertaking, and the placement must be done as a requirement of an education or training course, and it must be approved as well. So as MBA students, for it to be a requirement of your education or training course, you have the option to enroll in this subject, so the UTS postgraduate internship subject. So if your internship is then approved by UTS, you enroll in the subject, you'll then be covered by UTS insurance whilst you're on placement, including personal accident and public liability insurance. Now, organisations are also aware of this requirement. So a lot of organisations will look for their interns, if they're hiring unpaid interns, to actually be enrolled in a subject or for it to be a part of their course if they're in a different course. So they will look for that requirement as well. And when we've had conversations with them, we'll let them know about the process for approving internships as well.
Fantastic, Katie. And I think that's one thing also to note. If you're unsure, so for example, if you've approached an organization or an organization has approached you and you're unsure as to whether or not something sounds right with that arrangement, you can always come and talk to us here at UTS and get some advice on that, and we can let you know our advice and what the requirements are, etc., and help you with that process as we've already discussed. So we had some student questions. Obviously, a series of students have registered for this session today and did ask questions that they would like to know more about in relation to internships. One of our students asked, how do we prepare for an internship as an international student majoring in finance? And I guess we could, essentially look at this question more generally across different discipline areas, because I'm not sure finance would be specific in terms of how to go about preparing for an internship. So do you have any advice there, Katie, on, how a student might go about preparing for an internship?
Yeah, so I might touch on some of the points that I mentioned earlier, but go a little bit deeper. So as I mentioned, the Business Career Hub site is a really great resource to use to prepare to find an internship. On there are jobs opportunities listed. Something that I haven't mentioned yet is that students can actually look at expired opportunities. And there's also the filter option to select all candidates considered, including international students. So you can have a look at the current opportunities and then have a look at the expired opportunities, because that gives you an idea of what organizations have hired interns in the past. And sometimes listed on there might be an email, so a contact that you can reach out to. Or as I mentioned before, you can go to the company website, you can use LinkedIn, try and find that appropriate contact and then reach out to them, see if they're hiring interns, if they have a recruitment campaign coming up, or see if they have current capacity to take on an intern. So that's a really great tool to utilize. Then on Career Hub as well, there's a lot of really great resources. So there's the internship and graduate application process, which is fantastic. It takes you step by step through the recruitment process, and then it provides you resources and depending on the areas, tools to support you through that recruitment process. So sometimes you might apply for an internship and then the next day they call you for an interview. So that gives you access to 24/7 on-demand resources that are always available for you when you need them. Something else that you can do is consider professional associations or professional bodies. So some of these might have free student memberships, such as Women in Business and Finance. So there is a link to that on the Business Career Hub site, where students will receive a free registration if they're a UTS student. And then there's also the Financial Services Professional Body, FINSIA. So students can also join that. And then those professional bodies would often have networking events. They might also have some resources. So oftentimes when you go to an interview, you'll get asked around what are the industry trends at the moment. So it's a great way to keep up to date with that. Other tools that you might use, so for finance in particular, you can use industry-specific websites such as eFinancial Careers. But if you're looking for something else outside of finance, there will be these niche job boards that are specific for your area that you can also utilize. Something else that you can use is the LinkedIn alumni tool. So essentially, it's a way that you can search LinkedIn to find students who are now professionals, but they previously studied at UTS. So by finding someone that's working in industry who previously studied at UTS, it's like you've got a warmer conversation because you have a point of reference, something in common. So if they've studied the MBA, studied an MBA and you're currently studying an MBA, you can reference that, you can reach out to them, you can send them a message. Worst case scenario, they don't reply. No harm done. But if they do reply, you can, do information interviews, develop a relationship, find out about their career path, some of the strategies they utilized. And that's a really great tool in particular for international students, as they can really relate to the experiences that you're going through at the moment. They might have some insights into information or some strategies around different things that they did. And then we've already mentioned, but also the student societies at UTS. So in particular for finance, the UTS Finance Society would be a really great place.
Mm, fantastic. Yeah, I know our societies are very, very engaged and active, which is a really, really good place to look for these sort of connections and opportunities. As a chartered accountant, I know Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand frequently have various networking events and the ability to sign up on their page and get information on careers in accounting. And that's just one example. And, the professional bodies, as you mentioned, Katie, including FINSIA, are very active, so that's a great reference point. So one of our students asked, how should I present my educational background on my resume and cover letter? And we've already mentioned some of the fantastic resources on Career Hub that could help with this. Did you want to mention any in particular, Katie?
Sure. So when you're adding your educational background to your resume, what you want to do is to highlight key achievements. So you don't want to provide a whole long list of all the subjects that you've done, but you can highlight key achievements, or you might even highlight a key project that you worked on that's particularly relevant for the internship or the job opportunity that you're applying for. When you're thinking about including your education background, you can also include different things that you were involved in at university. So potentially you're involved in a student society. You might have done some of the programs like the UTS Soul Award, Build, and so on. So you can also include that on your resume. So as James mentioned, I mentioned one of the resources, which is the internship and graduate process. So on there, you'll find a direct link to the tool, which is Rate My Resume. So Rate My Resume is a tool that you can use where you will upload your resume and get instant feedback to give you some tips and pointers on how to improve your resume. There's also really great workbooks on Career Hub as well, where you can look at samples and you can see a wide variety of samples to see what style would fit your experience and how you want to showcase that on your resume. In Australia, there's some standard things like you'll have for your education background in particular, you'll have that listed in reverse chronological order. So you'll have, your most recent qualification first and then go to your later qualifications that you've done.
Fantastic. One of our students asked about becoming a permanent employee in an organisation and essentially how to leverage an internship to achieve that objective, which we have touched on already today. Did you have anything more you wanted to say about that question, Katie?
Yeah, so we've already touched on it. So internships are often used as a talent pool for organizations to then source for graduate or entry-level roles. In the case of MBAs, they can even use those internships and, put them in higher level positions when they have opportunities available. As James mentioned, you've had a conversation and worked with a hiring manager before. You've developed an understanding of maybe your communication styles, how you work together well. They might actually reach out to you and want you in that opportunity. So that's a really great way to, have an understanding of those opportunities coming up. The Australian Association of Graduate Employers also does a lot of research into this, and there's data to say that organizations definitely hire their interns into their graduate pool in their graduate roles. And that's something that the talent acquisition team, as I mentioned, I've done recruitment before, they actually spend a lot of time trying to retain that talent in their organization.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, recruiting you as an intern and as an employee, a permanent employee, there's significant investment that goes into that recruitment process as well as the ongoing training. Obviously having you on board as an intern, it's there's an incentive for the organization to keep you on if it's a mutually happy agreement, I suppose, in terms of you're happy working there, they're happy employing you on a permanent basis. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing, of course, is that, working in an organization, you're going to further develop your network. You're going to meet people, so maybe you mightn't end up working at that organization, but you might find other contacts elsewhere and decide to pursue those opportunities as well. And so that's a really important thing to think about, just as you do throughout your studies at UTS. Hopefully there's that you make the most of networking opportunities as they're presented to you. You should also obviously be doing that from a professional point of view if you're undertaking an internship. So one of our students asked tips for finding an opportunity to work in a big tech company. So it's a little bit more specific there. So did you have any advice on that question, Katie?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So I'm not sure of what their specific background is, but if the big tech space is new, what I would say is think about ways that you can show that you're really interested in that area. So is there, tech-focused student societies at UTS? Is there organizations or companies that you can follow on LinkedIn? Is there professional associations that you can join to show that interest? And if you're looking for a role that might combine, your business acumen with tech, maybe you can identify organizations that you want to work for and see if there's any tech skills that they look for in some of those roles that might combine the two together, and see if you have any skills gaps and consider what are some things that you can do to maybe fill in those skill gaps. So are there free courses like through LinkedIn Learning? The other thing that you can do is map out the employers that you want to work for, and then have a look at the professionals working in those organizations on LinkedIn. Look at those career paths that they've taken, how they describe their roles, what training have they done, and I think that can really set you apart. My father did his MBA at UTS, and he was an engineer, so I think it's really great to see that, you can, if potentially you've done an undergraduate in that tech space and then you're doing your MBA at the moment, you can, combine the two and then look for that particular area that you're going to be interested in, and that can really set you apart.
Yeah, that's great advice. And one of the things you also mentioned, Katie, is LinkedIn Learning. So as a student at UTS, if you log in through the UTS library, you've got full access to LinkedIn Learning as you log through the UTS library into your LinkedIn account. So certainly have a look at some of the resources that are there. The other advice I would say is that, it's really good to aspire to work for a particular company, but of course, there's many opportunities out there, and as part of your MBA studies, we present you with a lot of options that you can think about within your studies, so within the curriculum as well as on an extracurricular basis. And so think broadly, as you progress through your studies with us in terms of the different opportunities. Don't constrain yourself too much, because as we know, and as Katie has mentioned, employers do have certain requirements in some instances, in terms of who they want to recruit. And so best to have an open mind in terms of the different opportunities that are out there.
Yep, great.
So one of our students also asked, how is it best to contact your team, Katie?
So to contact our team, we have a team inbox that we all manage. So it says Business Internships at uts.edu.au, and then we'll get back to you on that.
Excellent. And so Business Internships, all one word. We'll put that email in the description below this video, so you've got that information. Do we have any questions? Richard, did you have any questions you wanted to ask us?
Yeah, look, only personally at this point, I was just, you made mention that this is something you kind of do through the electives. If you've gone a sub-major as part of your electives, does that kind of rule out this option?
Well, one of the things we can do, Richard, we can obviously have a look at your individual study plan to see whether you do have any credit points that are remaining for your 96 credit points across the MBA, and let you know specifically. In some situations, yes, depending on the specializations you want to pursue, there may not be any credit points that are available. As I understand it, Katie, in some instances, students can do additional credit points beyond the maximum 96.
Yeah, so that can be an option with approval, but then there would be costs associated with that. So within the course structure, if students are doing the core subjects, a major and then a sub-major, there's no electives available within that stream. But within the other streams, there are electives available.
Excellent. Yeah. But as I mentioned, Richard, you can certainly contact me. We can look at your own, and a lot of students do contact me and we have a look at their individual study plans and have a chat about that.
Cool.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share today, Katie?
I just wanted to mention our sessions that we have for the subject. So a lot of the subjects, internship subjects across UTS might be offered only in autumn or spring, but for the business school, we have 6 sessions. So we have it in February, April, June, August, October, and December. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. As I mentioned, you have to source your internship first before enrolling in the subject, but we try to cover essentially the whole year to give you that flexibility.
Yeah, that's really great because a lot of employers obviously don't conform to our standard teaching sessions, and so that provides you the flexibility to have a look for internships, including outside your formal study sessions. Say a lot of students study in the autumn and spring sessions, and you might be looking for opportunities when you have more time
Yeah.
outside those sessions. So that certainly opens that up. All right. Thanks a lot, Katie. It's been great to have you on board today, and that was really, really informative session. As I mentioned, we're going to put some further links and information and that email in terms of contacting the internship team in the description below this video, so you can contact us and reach out to us if you would like to know more. As you know, as MBA Program Director, you're always welcome to contact me if you have any specific questions around your studies and the program you are completing, including having a look at your study plan and providing you with some advice in terms of what you might want to think about in terms of the options moving forward. So thanks a lot once again, Katie. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon and talking to our students about their plans moving forward.
Great. Thanks so much for that, James.
No worries. Thank you.